Hello everyone, this is RaySpace here in Kerbal Space Program 1.12 with more configurations for mods to make them more usable with Realism Overhaul and Real Solar System. In this case, I'm here with configurations for Near Future Propulsion. Now, Near Future Propulsion is already configured for Realism Overhaul. However, the engines are modeling real ion engines and stuff like that, and that means they are small. And that wouldn't be a problem for Near Future if Realism Overhaul didn't get rid of tweak scale on the engines. Because, well, if you can tweak scale them up, then you can make better use of them. So I have decided to make new configurations that present upscaled versions of the engines. And they're just straight scaled up for the most part. So this is a Realism Overhaul configured Farad pulsed inductive thruster. You can see it's 0.05 tons, it gets 1.5 newtons, so it's tiny. And I've brought this ship out to give you a sense of how tiny. Well, you can barely see the bloody engine, right? It's right there. Can you see it? So for the kinds of things that we want to do in Kerbal Space Program, like move Kerbals from place to place, this is too small. It'd be great for a probe, but it's not really great for the things that we do. It is modeled after a real thruster that's been tested and stuff like that, and so has the high PEP and the ID500 or their proposed thrusters. So there are all these real electric systems, and I have made larger versions. So this is an upscaled version. In general, I scaled them up by a factor of 5 or a factor of 10, though some I did other numbers. So if you scale it up by a factor of 5, you get 25 times the thrust, and if you scale it up by a factor of 10, you get 100 times the thrust. So in this case, that's 1.5 newtons. This is 36.8 newtons, so you know it's 25 times. Still using the argon gas, same ISP. The mass has been increased by a factor of 25. That is how it works, generally speaking. And, well, there we go. I was wondering, where did it go? It sort of disappears sometimes. But now it's a decent size compared to the ion engines that I previously had there. So now it's better represented. It's pretty heavy, 1.2 tons, and still not very powerful. But at least it's on a scale where we don't have to have hundreds of them, right? So the same goes for quite a lot of different thrusters. So the Farad, the Hermes, now there's an upscaled one of that. The high PEP actually may be one of my favorites because it's got a 9,620 second ISP. That's what Realism Overhaul had, so that's what I'm going with. But mind you, as we upscale them, of course they take more charge. So you're going to need a nuclear reactor to power them. 943 kilowatts. Now you could use really big solar panels and a lot of them, so it's possible, but we're looking at big solar panels or small nuclear reactors. So the high PEP here is about the same as one of these in terms of mass, not in terms of thrust, and that's because these are less efficient but more thrust. So well, anyway, one benefit is that if you do need them scaled differently, I left tweak scale on. So these do not have tweaks. Well, if you still have the general global configuration in Realism Overhaul that gets rid of tweak scale on all engines, then you're not going to have this. But I get rid of that because that's fundamentally not compatible with KSP Interstellar. It is the file ro_engines in .config in the Realism Overhaul folder. You don't want to get rid of it entirely. You just need to go in and spot the bit where it gets rid of tweak scale and eliminate that portion. So you're going to have to do some config editing in order to save yourself some trouble. But then you can use tweak scale with these. However, for the Near Future Propulsion, Realism Overhaul actually doubly got rid of tweak scale. It did it with the global, and it does it in the configuration with Near Future Propulsion. So keep that in mind. So anyway, we've got the high PEP, we've got the I500 here, and I've got an assortment of other. I haven't done the RCS, but that's because Realism Overhaul itself didn't do the RCS either, so I'll have to think about how to do the RCS. There are a lot of parts from near future that aren't configured for realism overhaul at all. I'll tackle that later. I'll tackle because I'm currently just using the numbers that they had and then just scaling them up. But that's what I've done so far. But I will take a look at all these others like this fission reactor and all. I think with the more recent versions of Realism Overhaul, they've configured some of these. And it's just because I'm using an older version of Realism Overhaul because it's more compatible with RP2000 that I don't have these configured. So some of these might be already configured for Realism Overhaul. But what they wouldn't have done is present upscaled versions of the electric engines, so that is my contribution. And you don't have to get rid of the RO configuration for it, it just adds these. So the RO ones are still here, it's just that now you have an upscaled one. Now, with the pulse inductive thrusters, it's not necessary to have them be bigger. So that's one of the benefits of the pulse inductive thrusters. You note there's 0.55, there's only 0.6, and it's the same physical size. And that's because with pulse inductive thrusters, what you do is you increase the rate of the pulses in order to increase the thrust. So here we have 4.9 newtons. Here we have 19.6 newtons. That's because I just said that it increases the pulse rate by a factor of 4. That does require more electric charge, right? So this one uses 205 kilowatts. This one uses 821. I generally aimed for the 800 kilowatt range. So that's what most of these should be doing. So this upscaled one here, this one's actually way larger. This is 2,456 kilowatts or 2.5 megawatts. If we're using these KSP interstellar reactors, this one in particular, this molten salt reactor that I like to use, then we're probably talking about scaling it up to the 1.25 meter size, which is, standard. That's your normal stock size. And that'll get you 800 kilowatts. And then one size above that will get you to 3.5 megawatts. So that should be pretty good. I think, I swear it used to get more power. I think something's modified KSP Interstellar to make them produce less power because I thought this size got more power before. But anyway, it's still okay. So there's the Vasimirs. So I made certain different engines that didn't exactly exist before. I made a hydrogen Vasimir, which is still 800 kilowatt. Well, actually, it says 323 kilowatts. So before I release this, I'm going to adjust this so that's 800 kilowatt, which is proper. It's not supposed to be 323. I must have done a math error. So I'll scale it up because the thrust that we get from it is for an 800 kilowatt one. So I got hydrogen 800 kilowatt one. The normal ones only use argon gas, but it's meant, the Vasimir is meant to eventually use hydrogen. And I also made an oxygen pulsed inductive thruster, wherever that happens to be. Here, Ray's Aerospace oxygen pulsed inductive. Well, that thruster, the second word thruster is redundant, so I will get rid of that. But yes, that's a very powerful one, but not very efficient. 2,300 seconds of ISP uses, it should be much more than 4.11 kilowatts. So I'll probably increase that, but I'll have to check the numbers on that because pulse inductive thrusters are a bit weird. So let's see, what were the other ones doing? This new pit one was 205. So some math error, probably because of the mass of the oxygen. Oxygen is peculiar. I'll adjust that. So that's another number I'll fix before releasing it. So though that's just what the configuration is. If there are any other problems, tell me. I'll put it to use practically in a full mission in a separate episode, but this is just introducing it and giving you the configurations as you might want them, and I'll make the fixes that I just mentioned. So there you have it. Now you have much larger engines from near future propulsion, much more usable. You can see this is a much better replacement for the ones I have there. And yeah, so with that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.